Good morning and welcome back to Goldcrest Valley. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I skipped night and as predicted by the weather forecast it had warmed up and the snow had all gone. The fields are no longer frozen. We can do some work. But first we need to check these animals. These pigs need a top up. Now if you recall, apart from the sugar beet, which I did harvest, but we have absolutely a mass of those compared to how the pigs are going to get through them. The corn, wheat and canola that they have there is the stuff that we started the game with. All I sold from what we started the game with was the soybeans, because they were very good money and I needed it. And yeah, so second day of spring, 7 o'clock in the morning, we're now going to start feeding them what we've got over there in the silo, which is the entire harvest from last year. What I am going to do, actually, one of my odd jobs is going to be to move that big pile of sugar beet over into the silo, just so we can keep track of how much there is really, or I think how much surplus there's going to be in that case. Anyway, so corn. And while it's doing it, let's just have a little look at this trailer, which is a mod. And what I intend to do, we've obviously got the half-hour borrowing scheme that we can use in seasons that we discussed in the first episode, and we're also going to be leasing in all of the equipment and maybe the occasional extra tractor. So that's going to give us lots of opportunity to look at some different mods. I quite like this one. You can change the colour on it. It kind of suits it, you know. I wanted this farm to be a reasonably modern one on the whole. Most of mine are made out of machinery made in the shed. Let's have a look at the lights. Yeah, all the normal indicators, hazards. No hazards on the trailer. That's okay. Really not the kind of thing that's going to upset me. I've noticed how brilliantly clear stickers and logos etc. on some of the more recent mods have become. No idea how they managed to improve things so much, but well done them. Right, you see the animation. There we go. To be honest, I could probably live without having this trailer and it would save us a bit of money. But I think just the very basics is what we're going to keep, and as you've seen, it's very, very little. That always catches me out, doesn't it? There we go. Definitely needs to clean up here. While the snow was on the ground, because it covered this area, you may remember the cleanliness just went down to perfect. It didn't register that corn was under there at all. Why won't you let me put it in now? Haha, silly me, of course I just filled the trough. Right, so we'll put you back in here. So let's see how much we need in there for the 3 days. Just under 8,000. Okay, we can remember hopefully how much to put in the trailer next time. This silo, again, it's a mod. It doesn't have a zone marked on the floor, but that's really not a problem because obviously you get the unload icon down in the bottom right of the screen when it's ready to do the work. So we'll put that back. And we'll swing around. I love this space up by the pigs here. Some of the mod maps, some of the Sobnovka is a favourite map of mine. Some of the mod maps have some wonderfully built yards, etc. For me, kind of the way I play the game, there's a lot of empty sheds. There's always going to be a lot of empty sheds, but I just like this little space here. It does the job. I needed nowhere near that much canola, but anyway, let's fill it up. 3,100. So basically we'll be able to have a better idea of how on target we are to keep these pigs fed. And something else to consider is that obviously we've already made 2 pigs. It's spring, it's breeding time. They're going to breed in the spring and in the autumn. We've already made two extra pigs. One more pig, that's 10% more pigs, which is very good. But also obviously it's putting more of a strain on our food supply. So we're actually going to be feeding more than 300 pigs, and that was what my maths were based on. So we're going to see how well we can do. One of this to be sell the pigs that we make in. Do we wait until after the autumn breeding, when in the winter we'll get the best prices? In fact, I'm going to stop fitting. I'm going to guess in the winter we'll get the best prices. There's a drop in the price after the autumn breeding season, and obviously we'll have more pigs to be breeding in that autumn breeding season. So that again is really something we're going to have to calculate based on how much food we've got. And I really don't want, if we can avoid it at all, for their productivity to be any lower than it possibly could be. So I really want to try to keep feeding them. Right, we can drop them off some more water. We have a little stash of potato and beet over in this shed. That's going to be more than enough. We'll tidy up what we've got in the big shed over there, put it in the silo, just to see how much we've got. I'm sure we've got years worth over there from a very small area of ground. We'll call that full. Right, and here are some numbers for you. Right, starting top left, it's mid-spring. That's where we're kind of starting this, so we're going to run till mid-spring next year. We started with 30 pigs, 10 sheep, $150,000 loan, and $5,760 in cash. Now underneath there we've got the daily expenses. Total for the year is just under $35,000, and do note that the loan interest there, 10%, is our biggest daily expense. So getting your loan down is quite a good thing to do as and when possible. Now middle section, we've got kind of expenses for doing the field work. Sower expenses will have to go on after today, but that's what it's cost us to cultivate the fields in wages and leases, etc., etc. That is something to take into account. All of those expenses added up without vehicle servicing over the year, petrol, etc., which we'll add in as we go along, we're looking at about $59,000, with, as I said, the expenses for replanting the fields to be added into that. And then over on the right hand side we are going to keep track of what we're selling and roughly when. And my basic message here is do not be put off by the figures. That sounds very scary, and we're probably going to be looking at over about $70,000 just overheads for the year. And depending on how many pigs we actually manage to breed, there's going to be a deficit. But what we're going to see here is how easy it is to just make that up as you make the deficit up as you go along. It's not going to take much at all. It's actually going to give you a lot of time, because this is a very simple setup in terms of field work, for you to go off and do other things. You can do lots of forestry, you can do grass cutting, silage making, whatever you want to do. This will be your little core over time, and that's how you should really look at this. Well, I do anyway, and I'm a naturally optimistic person perhaps. One thing I'd like to point out is thank you very much to Farmer Jim Bob on the forums, and I highly recommend the Giants forums for this game. They are brilliant. The people on there are fantastic. They will help you out with any question you've got. Nothing too dumb or too complicated, and I ask the dumbest questions, I can assure you. He, after watching my season's guide, pointed out that you can permanently change the Celsius temperatures into the menu screen, the calendar screen, simply by changing the option, saving the game and reloading. And once you reload, that is what you will see, and I am now playing with that, as you may notice. That just makes it much easier for me to keep an eye on what's going on and really kind of understand how cold things are going to get, which is important. Right, and this is the other important set of figures. This is the harvest yield from last year. The figures kind of speak for themselves. If we concentrate over on the right hand side, you can see the total as in the total harvested of that crop, so 16,400 barley. Next to it, what I project the 30 pigs will need, and remember that's without the actual pig population growing because of the breeding. And then we've got the surplus, or in the case of barley, a 700 shortfall. Now, something I did forget to mention in the earlier part of this video because I forgot. I do also, from the initial crop that we stores that we started with in the silo, I have about 4,500 wheat, and I still have the sunflowers over there, which we're going to sell. Also to note is that we made $4,400 from the sale of straw, which is quite handy. And as I did mention, the sugar beet from that small patch, which I've called Field Y, we're looking at over 3 years, maybe 3.5 years worth of food for the 30 pigs, which is excellent, and one less thing to worry about. So there we go, sugar beet into the silo, and that everybody all ready for 3 days. We're going to have to check on the cleanliness. What we're going to do now, just checking here, sugar beet 7,400, more than enough for a very long time. So off we go to do some farming finally. And obviously, because of the situation that we're in, we're kind of limited into what we are going to want to be planting, etc. We need the high yield crops, so we need canola and we need barley. Wheat and barley, they're much more competitive, I think, as cash crops. Corn is the real change in this game from the previous ones. It's worth far more money as a crop than it ever was before. It was only really ever worth planting for silage, but and canola, same situation with the sunflower seeds and the soybeans. Really, we need the volume, and we haven't got the option. It's unfortunate. It means that we need to lease 2 kinds of sowing machine, because obviously that kind of doubles the cost there, but we are absolutely stuck with that. So we've still got some snow left. Basically, where you've piled snow up or dumped snow, it will basically act as extra layers, and the thawing is done by layers. So there you go, you will get some little piles left. Stays nice and white, not like the snow you usually see sitting around here after the rest is thawed. Looks horrible grey sludge. So before we go, let's have a look in the shop. We need sowing machines. The fields, I don't know if I've mentioned it in the last episode, after the harvest they were fertilised, they were cultivated, and they were fertilised again. So all they need now is the seeders that fertilise at the same time to do their job, and those fields are then finished really until the autumn. So we're going to get the Great Plains one to do the wheat and do the canola. We are going to get the Amazone one to do the corn. That at the moment I can't see a better option than that. The bigger ones, for the cost and what they're going to save then in wages, it really isn't going to make much a difference. But before I do that, of course, and apologies, it slipped my mind that this was all covered in snow yesterday. You haven't actually seen the fields, right? I have ploughed out this here field 15 as widely as I can, keeping just a little bit of a border. This down here is where I planted the sugar beets, and as we've seen, produced years worth, and then that's going to be used to top up the barley. Here is corn, the centre section. Over here is a canola field, which I'm hoping to overproduce canola quick enough to be able to skip a crop of canola potentially in 1 year. And we'll see what we can do with that. And obviously field 12, which again has been, I think we probably added about 9 meters width onto field 12. Not too much. You don't want to go too far over on the other side because the ground's too uneven, and I do like to leave little ways here. But as we've seen, this is exactly what we need to produce the food for those 30 pigs, hopefully taking into account their expansion through breeding. So I thought I'd just leave that alone for now. It's an option for later. It's not a huge space, and I don't think it would really make much difference to what we're doing here at all. Okay, here we are. We're at the shop, and we are here for sewing machines. We are going to get the Amazone, and we are going to lease him. and we are going to get the good old great pines, and we are going to lease him. Now I have 1 tractor and 2 seeders. The solution is at hand, because we're rich. In fact, we might not even meet. Oh no, we do need to take out a little bit of loan. I thought that was even cheaper than that. So back to the old shenanigans, I'm afraid, of taking ages to get to that part of the menu, borrowing 5 grand and buying ourselves this trailer with yellow rims. Why not? This trailer, I've had a few little plays of it. It's a very useful addition to the arsenal. It's nice and flat, which is important. It's got fastening straps on it, so it will take pallets and your bits and bobs. And in terms of a solution for a little situation like this, I think it's pretty much ideal. Now, how this handles is going to be a little bit of a test, because I haven't actually tried that yet. I'm not expecting the straps to hold down the equipment, because they don't. In fact, we're going to need to try and back this little lad on here. Are we looking okay? We're far too far over this way, really. There we go. Oh, excuse me, everybody. A little bit rough. That might work quite well actually, with them hooked on like that. And then same with his friend. Trees, I guess the ramps are going to be a little bit of a restriction. I don't think it will let you do much with it without them on. The ramps up, sorry. But we'll find out. Here we go. The moment of truth. Raise the ramps. We put the fastening straps on, but I expect them to have no effect. Ooh. Luckily the ramps have caught the cedar at the rear. Yeah, I think if we're gentle, we're going to make this. Let's just get out the car park. No problem. Okay, see you back at the farm. Okay, so we may have taken one of the corners just a little bit quickly, and the Amazone cedar fell off, but we just grabbed it on the front mounting point. I hope you don't mind. There are no crops in the fields right now, so I'm allowed to drive over them, right? Right, here we go. Drop off the guy at the front. You look around and see there's no cedar there. We shall unfold the Lowloader. We've made it. Hey. I always forget I can do the old change driving position trick with the voucher. It's not something I do very often. But here we go. I know you're also seeing that the fastening straps have no effect on this machinery whatsoever. Right, change. Driving position. God, had to reselect the tractor. And we're stuck. Gonna have to take a look from the outside. He's too hooked over the back. Okay, there's only ever one thing for it. What's the worst that can happen? We sell back the trailer. There we are. Ooh, nice gentle return to earth. Did you see that? That was funny. Okay. Right, I'm going to get on with filling up these cedars. Bear with me just one moment, I'll be right back. So, here we are about to start seeding. Before we do, just a couple of things I'm going to show to you. Detach the cedar. I've got 1,000 seed in the bucket to carry around with me, because this cedar, as I said, is going to need refilling a lot. Why it's like that, I don't know. Is it because you might want to change seed in real life more than you, and you can leave the fertilizer in there, but 8:1 as a use ratio seems a long way out for me. I'll drop the bucket now. Also, it can only display two things. I've only put 155 fertilizer in the seeder. We're leasing it. We're going to give it back. It doesn't use much. That might not be enough, but I'm certainly not putting so much in there that I have to give any back to the shop. So, one other thing. It's Sunday, unfortunately, so it's going to be time and a half for staff. I am going to rent the guy out to do this field, and then we'll see where we are. So we rent the guy out, hire a guy, I should say. So off you go. And who have we got today working for us? We've got Claudia in her yellow skirt and sandals. Yes. Not sure about the risk assessments around here, but there's not much I can do about that. So we're going to leave her to get on with her job. I'm going to leave it on 1x speed, simply just to see how long this takes in real life. It's a good way of seeing your day and managing your day, is to know how long you're going to have to sit and play the game to do a day. I certainly like to know that. So there we go, 5 to 8, and we're off. Okay. First refill of seed. 14 minutes. And this much field. Oh, excuse me, seeder. There is a little door that opens and closes when you open the cover, etc. On that seeder. It bears no relation to where you need to pour the seed to refill it. So you just pour it over the top like that. Just be a little bit gentle, and it will stop pouring when the seeder is full. There we go. Just check we don't miss any. There we are. Okay, off we go. And there are things to be done. Don't forget that even though you're on foot, you are not immobile, because I spotted somewhere here. Oh, look. There we are. Another one of those dead trees. We'll get down the ones that are very close to the farm and probably take those in quite soon. Lambee's always going to fall, hopefully, away from the blade. Yeah, so who needs another tractor? We can do some productive work by walking somewhere. Oh, crikey. Just as well I finished working down this end of the field. Huge safety zone. There we go. Trimmed. We're going to get rid of this disappearing piece of woe. It seems to have a huge effect on devaluing your wood. He's disappeared, he's gone. I like it. Quite a nice view from up here. Haha, advanced. Now we're trying to get the cut as straight as possible, because that's the one that affects the value. It's not the straightness of the tree, it's the straightness of the cuts you put into it that is the value varia. It's not very clear from the description. And then we're going to take out that much over there, because that's probably the best way to do that. Yeah, so we could go into the woods and do some more. I don't need to right now. We'll do that later. But yeah, just don't forget that just because you can't use a vehicle does not mean you can't walk somewhere and get on with a little bit of forestry. And it's a very nice day in the woods. Okay, we finished planting the corn. Let's see how close we cut it. Haha. There you go, we've got 28 seed left and 1 fertiliser. I did have to top up the fertiliser just a little bit, so it's at a total of 180 fertiliser and about 700 is in fact exactly seed to do the corn. There you go, now we know. And of course we can now immediately, while we remember, return him. And also just have a look, he's used 1.3 hours, so we have gone into the second hour and had to pay for it, which is a little bit unfortunate. It also means we've got, what have we got left there, 45 minutes maybe, 40 minutes left, where we could be using that in another field or for more planting. So that's something to bear in mind. It's one way of getting your costs down or your productivity up without increasing your costs, and that's something we're going to keep an eye on. So next year we know we can do an extra 40 minutes of corn, and it won't really, apart from the wage, if we pay a wage, increase our costs anyway. We should actually sell him, or I should say return him. And the other thing I'm going to do whilst I remember is pay back that $5,000 we put on the loan. So it leaves us with very little, but that's okay. We're going to keep hold of the bucket. Still some seed left in it, although it's not going to be so much of an issue with this guy here. Excuse me. Distracted there, somebody just walked into the room. I didn't expect it at all. Right, now this holds quite a lot of seed, and we're not going to use a huge amount of seed. We've done more than half. So 300. We're going to stop at 300. Just see how we get on. I don't mind if we have to come and refill it. I just don't want to give any more weight. I'm going to drop the bucket again so we can see the display for the fertilizer. And I'm going to guess at about 120. Yeah, let's see how we get on with that. Right, we shall set him to barley. And we shall send him on his way. Right, and planting the corn, yeah, exactly an hour. This is probably going to take slightly less time. We're going to start over here actually with the barley. Off we go. Okay, and we're just switching over to field 14, which is the canola field. We're going to do a little patch down by the shed after we finish there. I'm pretty sure we're going to go barley. Just another little demonstration of useful things you can do without a vehicle. Is you can walk to your neighbour's field quite slowly, even though I am running, and do a job. This is the field that we're obviously going to want to buy first for logistical reasons. It's right here. How buying an extra field is going to affect our ability to feed pigs is obviously excuse me, not that straightforward, because we'd need to do maybe half of it corn, quarter of it canola, quarter of it barley-ish. You know, they're not the right proportions, but you see what I mean. Or in some way jiggle it around. What have we got? Yeah, let's have a go in this little guy. He's from a mod pack, not the MF pack, the separate one. Sorry, I will put a credit in the titles. There you go. Yeah, why not do a quick job? $900, 4 minutes. I quite like these tractors. I've used them. I think these are the ones that come with disc brakes as an option, and you can actually tell that when you try to use them. Unfortunately, they don't take a front loader. They might make quite a nice little yard tractor. I'm going to go external just to help me get this set up, and then push. Yeah, there we go. You do have to be quite careful on these. There's no time bonus. We're rattling around. I do run these games with ground response and tyre dirt on. The only negative I've ever found with ground response, or it's not a negative, it's a realistic, is that some of the tractors, will bog down a little bit more, especially if you're pushing your luck with the power requirement. And four-wheel drive is a little bit noticeable actually. Tried the MF pack, some of the tractors are two-wheel drive, the four-wheel drive version. The two-wheel drive versions can sometimes struggle. Oh, I thought I had an autopilot on there. Anyway, There you go, $916. Not bad actually for seasons mode. No time bonuses available. That's very useful. That took us about 4 minutes. And let's just check. Natalie Johnson. We'll keep an eye out for Natalie's fields when we're going around the map looking for those dead trees, because if we can find small fields of hers to do jobs on, we can get a discount on this field down quite nicely, and that'll be very, very handy indeed. And I've just noticed there that the discount that Natalie is going to give us on her field now is about $920, which is exactly what we earned for doing the job. I did think that the discount might be worth more than the wage, but I'll keep an eye on that, because that's exactly the same. So you get the discount on the field matching the wage that you're getting paid according to that. Right, I've taken a little break here just to point out that we've now been sowing seed for 2 hours. Now I'm playing on 1 speed for this day because I want to get everything done in 1 day. It's really about just checking the figures, and I will do that in my playthroughs. I want to find stuff out and I want to learn things, so I'm not always going to play it quite straight all the way ideally it should be. Now I would play this normally on 5 speed, so those 2 hours would be 10 hours, which would take us now to almost 6 PM, which in terms of hiring staff, God, what happens when you hire staff after 6 PM on a Sunday? How much do you pay them then? Anyway, I don't want to find out. The point I'm making is that if I was playing this normally, without the trying to get the figures together and try to get this in front of you guys, this would be the end of today, and I'd probably go and potter around and cut a few trees, something like that, and really just finish this planting tomorrow. It's only probably going to take half of tomorrow to do, and with 1 tractor, obviously it doesn't leave much to show you. Now in terms of how you play the game is very much up to you. You might like the fact that you can put this on for 2 hours and you're going to play a day, and you're going to have to refill your seeder every 15 minutes and switch them over between fields maybe, and pretty much rest of the time you can get on with whatever it is you want to be doing. It's a low maintenance day, certainly. Anyway, I'm just making that point. I am going to carry on doing it all today, but this is where, if I was playing at 5 speed, the day would be over and I'd be absolutely happy with that. So we are done, and we've managed there to leave 11 seed and 29 fertilizer in the seeder. Right, before we send it back, we are going to check that everything is tickety boo. Right, so we have 15 planted in barley, plus the little field we've just finished there, 14 canola, 12, and our little uppy downy rectangle, that's the corn. We should be getting a bigger harvest than we did last year, certainly on the barley, so that's something to be looking forward to. Right, now again, see, 1.3 hours on each of the seeders, so excuse me, we could get between the 2 of them an extra probably 80 minutes of planting done without it costing us more for their lease. Away you go, thank you very much for your help. Right, now, it has been said, I have read, that keeping these machines clean will not affect their maintenance cost. I can't say I've seen that, but I do like this to be clean anyway. So we're going to give them a nice spruce up. And basically, as I said, because we played on 1 speed today, so I could get all this done pretty promptly. He's done 2 days work, so yeah, we definitely deserve the wash. There you go, all nice and shiny. We're going to park him up here for now. We're going to turn the engine off, we're going to get out, enjoy the sunshine, and we're going to talk about the numbers to lease the seeders. Unfortunately we went into the second hour on both, but we've talked about that. That's $3,584. The wages, $3,374. That's time and a half, so usually that'd be what, $2,200, but it is what it is. Luckily we made that $900 back from the job. I have actually had to extend the loan by $5,000 because I do like to keep us in the positive in terms of cash. That loan will be the thing that we're kind of trying to bump back down and keep at 150 grand at least, buy the odd jobs and keep the farm ticking over. Right, there is one more job we need to do today. As I mentioned earlier, we do have the last stash of what we started the game with over here. We have the 4472 wheat, which is why we've got a little bit of a backup to the barley we got from the last harvest, so I'm not too worried about where we are with the grain, the food for the pigs. And we've got 5400 litres of sunflowers, which I'm very, very confident we are not going to need. So we're going to sell them, because we really should have sold them yesterday for the peak price, but we're certainly not going to wait till tomorrow. And we're going to take them to the Goldcrest Pacific Grain and get $1,485 per 1,000 litres. So I'm going to get on with that, and that will be into the account. That will basically put us back into the black, and we can pay off the extra $5,000 on the loan. So going tomorrow, we'll be back in the same position we were this morning, which is fantastic. Yeah, and just to conclude, I'll show you a little slideshow of some lovely pictures of my friend's tractor collection, apart from the Kutoba, which is somewhere else, and we might try to rescue that ourselves. Basically, just like to say, this playthrough isn't about showing that the Seasons mod has got something wrong and pig farming can't work. Not at all. In fact, it's the opposite. I love what Seasons does to the game, the way it makes you approach the game in a different way. I don't think things would be awfully different if we didn't have the pigs. I also like playthroughs, having played the game through all last three versions to death. I set my farms up to make them challenging, and Seasons just helps me do that even better as far as I'm concerned. Also, thanks to Lowloader from Realismus, who's constantly on the forums, again, recommending the forums to you, answering questions, tidying stuff up. They are, in an update, going to make pigs more profitable, which is fine, that's great. But as I say, that's not what this is about. This is not about maximum profit from day one. This is about having fun and an interesting time making a farm work. Thank you very much for watching. Leave us a like if you liked it. Any comments, questions or challenges are welcome, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Thank you.